Welcome to the North Shore Community Association's podcast, July 20th, 2022. Today we will present part 2 of our talk with Mr Bisson, a seasoned bilingual tour guide here on the North Shore. Then we will cover events and activities on what to do this summer on the North Shore. We'll start with the MRC côte-nord and follow the St. Lawrence River up to the east, and we'll end up all the way north in the MRC Cagnapisco.
I'd like to turn back the attention to yourself as being an English-speaking, or a bilingual even, tourist guide. What can a tourist expect to see or visit during one of your guided tours?
Well, basically, right now we have two systems. We've got basically baie-comeau tourism, and we have baie-comeau cruises. And in the summertime, what we're doing is that we have a 2-hour tour, which is a walking tour. You show the downtown district because what was there back in the 40s is there today.
The buildings remain the same.
I mean, the first 3 buildings ever built in baie-comeau were the pharmacy, which is the edifice Arcade, the Hudson Bay Company, and the Diner Hotel, which today is the Grand Hotel. And then all the other buildings started to fold in. And then we walk down towards the mill, and we talk about the mill, and we talk about the park in front of the mill, the Parc de Pienier.
Oh, yes.
Before that was just a barking dump and inlet because it was tied in the St. Lawrence River.
They cleaned that up really well.
Really well. That is grace to thanks to Mr. Brian Mulroney when we were lucky enough to have him become Prime Minister in 1984. And we told him, listen, Mulroney, we got enough of that smell of the mill. Let's have a nice park down here. How are we getting it cleaned up for us? Which he did do. For the cruise ships, we have basically 4 tours. We go to Franklin, which is about 25 kilometers away, and that's a rebuilt forestry town, how the logging operations operated. And then we have a trip to Manicouagan, because don't forget we're the powerhouse of the province, and then with the number of dams that we have on our rivers. And Manicouagan and Manic 5. But Manic 5 is a hard one for us to do because of the fact that it takes approximately 4 hours to get up. And when we have the cruise ships in, we don't have them in for much longer than 8-9 hours. So it's too tricky. Now we're working on trying to see that the ships couldn't stay in here later. So because but the only trouble is you get into the fall months and your days are getting shorter.
You're working against Mother Nature.
We're working against Mother Nature. So we've got to do something there because I really believe that what's going to make tourism big in baie-comeau is north of us. See, the minute you get up into the Manic 5 area, which is 225 kilometers from here, now you get up into the Groove Mountains, which are special mountains. They're not high mountains. They're only 3,300 feet. But the top of those mountains are all like buried. You would think you'd find trees, but you don't find trees. You'll find lakes and swamp and everything else. And they are really a complete different diversity that you see elsewhere. To think of it, in 2007, we were declared by UNESCO as a site. Plus, the fact is that back of the dam at Manic 5, you have the reservoir is because of the meteorite that hit this area approximately a couple of million years ago.
Okay.
And it's one of the biggest craters that you can actually see today. So basically, you got Manic 5. In the middle of that, you got the crater, which is actually the reservoir of the water, which has an island and exactly where the crater went in. And that's about 3.7 kilometers in diameter. And I think that this is where the big push will be for us with the cruises and also for our local tourists.
The people will be motivated to go.
Motivated to go there. And then locally, Manicouagan Farm, which is a beautiful setup. And, I'm even amazed at how many things they're doing there.
Because not too much grows on the North Shore.
No, but I mean, in Point La Belle, it's incredible. I mean, they're getting big in the different types of berries. And then you go down a little further, you go into Pointe aux Trembles, and you've got the nature park, and that is exciting. They're zip lining, they're sea kayaking. That group of Nordics I mean, down here outside of the Park Royal. I mean, fantastic. Out of this world. And anybody you send there say, holy moly, they do a beautiful job. So we've got a lot to offer. It's that we got to start putting more attention to making sure that people know about it.
You know, you talked about the cruise ship industry. Do you see a particular need for employees in the tourism industry, especially the cruise ship industry?
Definitely. I mean, the cruise industry that comes to baie-comeau, I would say, is 90% English.
Oh.
And of that 90% English, I'd say 70% of it is American. So I don't think we have enough English-speaking people involved in greeting and in the working of the cruise ships.
Is there anything else you'd like to add or expand on?
Well, you know, the only thing I always say is that I think that, and over the last couple of years with the COVID-19, we've had a hang of a lot more Canadians and people from Canada visit the North Shore. And they are amazed at what they see on the North Shore. And they should be amazed because really, basically, when you take a look from Tadoussac right down to Place Blanc, the diversity is incredible. You know, you go from mountains to plains to marshes, back into mountains. We have how many rivers? With thousands and thousands, 80,000 lakes from Tadoussac.
Oh my!
You know, yeah, and all the streams that go with the lake. I think for the nature, the outside, we've got the greatest.
It's unbeatable.
It's unbeatable, really it is. And I mean, and it's the same thing with the villages as you go down. They're all different. You know, when you leave, people, I mean, I don't know how many people say, well, we're going to see baie-comeau and then we're going to see Seven Islands. And we might go to Heart St. Pierre. And I say, look, what are you going to stop at Heart St. Pierre? Why aren't you going to baie-comeau and Manicouagan, Finish, to Kikasco? Go right to the end of the road. Where the hell's the end of the road? Oh, never knew that.
The road stops there.
Yeah, and all those villages are different, and they all offer something completely different. As a tourist, it's not like you're saying, well, what I see in Moisey, I'm going to see in Nadesh-Glen, and I'll see the same thing in Gaston. No way.
Each town brings its own flavor and culture.
Own flavor, and it's the setup. Everything's different.
Wow.
You talk to the fishermen, they're different. You know, one group of guys are only fishing crab, and the other guys are fishing lobster and codfish, and the other guys are out there for shrimp, and another gang is only out there for scallops.
A lot of diversification.
Diversification galore. And scenery is completely different. The rivers are different.
Yeah, I've had the opportunity to travel a bit on the North Shore, and it is amazing. It is. Oh, that's wonderful. Well, Mr. Bisson, this sort of brings an end to our podcast today. So I'd like to thank you very much for taking time out of your busy schedule to help us all discover a little bit more about baie-comeau's tourism industry, its sites, events, and especially its history.
Thank you.
The Centre d'interprétation Archéotopo in Les Bergeronnes will introduce you to the archaeology of the North Shore from Tadoussac to Blanc-Sablon with 3 different expositions. A multimedia show explains the archaeological digs in this region, which began at the turn of the last century. You can also chat with a virtual archaeologist who will answer all of your questions. Other services and activities are offered, including pottery and bead workshops, film screenings, internet access, a craft shop, and a bookstore specializing in history, ethnology, and anthropology. Former lighthouse station, the Cap de Bon Désir Interpretation and Observation Center in Les Bergeronnes invites you to discover the whales and the Saguenay-St. Lawrence Marine Park while observing from the shore. Let yourself be surprised by the marine mammals and seabirds that appear just a few meters away, and allow yourself to disconnect to the rhythm of the waves and the blow of the whales. The naturalist guides will share their passion for this captivating marine wildlife. It opens daily until September. This summer, if you're in the baie-comeau region, you may want to stop by for 3 wonderful exhibits. First, the Société Historique de la Côte-nord celebrates their 75th anniversary with a showing of some of their rare pieces and artifacts. Second, at the Alice Lane Public Library, you can learn about the impacts of plastics in the St. Lawrence River with the exhibit Agir pour demain. Finally, why not go on a tour for In Search of Yesterday, the bilingual exhibit at the Anglican Church of St. Andrews and St. George. Until Labor Day in September, you can enjoy the lighthouse at Pointe-des-Monts. It was erected in 1830 and has been a historical monument since 1964. The exhibition and interpretation was recently renewed and now offers visitors a sensory experience from floor to floor with multimedia technology and an audio guide. The lighthouse offers a 360-degree view of the river and its surroundings and allows the observation of whales that come to feed close to shore. Port-Cartier's Interpretation Center, the largest on the North Shore, offers a fascinating panoramic journey through the 100 years of Port-Cartier's history. It presents the history of the mining towns of Fermont and Gagnon. With seasoned guides, relive the era of the major logging and mining projects on the North Shore and immerse yourself in the daily lives of the pioneers. A new section called Memory of Places, Characters, and Traditions will be showcased until September 30th. Port-Cartier's Sept-îles Wildlife Reserve is your gateway to the great outdoors with activities like mountain biking, canoeing, hiking, and kayaking, even fishing and hunting during the appropriate time period. Come discover the lovely Walker Lake and the footbridge to picturesque McDonald Falls. Sport anglers can come for the day or rent a campsite or cabin and stay longer. In Sept-Îles, stop by the Chapoutoune Museum that recounts the millennia-old history of the Innu people and its ancestral land. Its permanent exhibition, Innu Utasi, follows the Innu through the seasons and their annual life cycle. The Innu way of life has always been a seasonal cycle of activities based on the harvesting of resources as they become available. Find out all about it and more at the museum. The Roland Jonf Cultural Center in Havre-Saint-Pierre is hosted in this old general store near the Old Quarter, and visitors can explore a permanent exhibit entitled L'Autre Roman, which recounts the history of Havre-Saint-Pierre from 1857 to the present day. The exhibit will stay open until late September. Why not plan a visit to Anticosti Island to discover the human and natural history and to observe the many objects and furniture from their cultural heritage? Starting in 2022, they are welcoming a new exhibit, La Fantastique Épopée du Vivant, a unique perspective on the tragic events that led to the first life extinction on Earth 445 million years ago. If you're into hardcore, the North Shore has something for you. 335 kilometers north on Route 389, you can find the Grue or Wapishka Mountains. This difficult trail runs through a thick spruce forest that gives way to taiga as you climb. From the summits, you can view the Manicouagan crater, formed around 214 million years ago. The mountains include some 30 peaks of over 1,000 meters. Every year, the nonprofit Mongru organizes volunteer cleanup operations to maintain and promote the mountain range. This is the end of this week's podcast. If you have comments or suggestions for our bi-weekly podcast, you can email us or reach out to us through Facebook. We would like to thank our sponsor for this podcast, the Secrétariat aux relations avec les Québécois d'expression anglaise.